I've been feeling like.
Hey everyone, so tech companies come up with many new product lines which either sticks for generations or fails miserably. Today we are going to see some of the brutal tech fails of the history which goes from it's okay we'll get them next time failures to billion-dollar losses for companies and brand names. And hey, we are going to rate these failures, so stay until the end of the video. Okay, first one is Samsung Galaxy Beam. So it was 2012 and Samsung came up with a Galaxy S device with a projector built into it. It was literally built with a Pico projector inside the phone. And Samsung really thought, oh, this is what consumers want. Actually, that's not bad considering the tough smartphone market and the pressure companies had to come up with the next big thing. So they went all in with this projector phone and made advertisements only to find it failing pretty badly. There were major issues in this implementation. First of all, the phone was bulkier to accommodate this project inside. Second, it was overpriced. Third, it had specs from 2010 running with an older version of Android. And briefly, the project output was not that bright and quality. Spoiler alert, all of these failures have something in common. If a company tries to sacrifice basic functions of their product with a gimmicky feature, most probably there is a failure. Okay, considering the poor execution, we can give this a 3 out of 10 failure rate. Next one is the LG Optimus 3D. LG unveiled their 3D smartphone in 2011 and it was actually a good try. There was a huge 3D sensation these days for 3D TVs, 3D cinema, and LG thought, why not a smartphone with a 3D display? But soon enough, all this hype for 3D devices died. Consumers thought it will be so cool but then understood it's not that much interesting with some constraints like having to wear ridiculous looking glasses, high prices and motion sickness. In terms of this LG smartphone, it had a 3D display, dual 3D cameras and some 3D applications. So far so good, right? It was leagues ahead of the competition with these features. But the problems were there were not that many 3D contents to use, resolution dropped half when entering into 3D mode and users have to look at the display at a certain angle to see the 3D in its full glory. But people didn't like the implementation because of these issues and the device failed. See, the thing with tech is people don't want these constraints and the implementation should be seamless. Even if the features are really good, consumers don't want to look at a certain angle, wear glasses or do anything peculiar. The tech should be seamless. That's why all 3D devices and VR technologies hadn't taken off as the next big thing. Even these are very cool features. Okay, 2 out of 10 failure rate because it was a good try. Next up is Microsoft Kin. In 2007, after the staggering success of iPhones, every tech company wanted a piece of that cake. Then comes Microsoft Kin, which is actually not a smartphone because it did not have any apps but had the ability to access social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, MySpace. Likewise, it was 2010 and social media was booming. So Microsoft thought this could be the social media phone and teens would love this product. But man, were they wrong. The price was too high and after every market campaign, ads, events, everything, Microsoft had to pull the plug on this phone within just 6 weeks and they sold only 500 units. No one wanted to even consider buying this over an iPhone. It was a disaster. In mobile phone manufacturer terms, these numbers are dreadful. Okay, this one is a solid 5 out of 10 failure. Alright. Let's talk about Windows phones. When you think Microsoft Kin was bad, Microsoft had another failure in mobile phone sector, the Windows Phones fiasco. It considers as the biggest OS failure in the company's history. This Windows implementation had a lot of potential to be the third big player in mobile OS competition, but the execution failed miserably. Don't get me wrong, I personally loved Windows OS those days. My brother had a Nokia Lumia phone which ran Windows OS and it was really good. So why it failed? Some of the reasons were it was too connected with Windows ecosystem which was not that much popular among mobile users with the rise of Google apps. First of all, these Windows phones didn't have popular apps to run in their OS. Then Google banned Microsoft from using Google apps like Maps, Gmail, YouTube. But the biggest reason was iPhones were selling like hotcakes at the time, and even Android phones were having many benefits over Windows phones, and Android phones were cheaper and had more features. 6 out of 10 failure rate because Windows missed the huge opportunity to be the third big player in mobile OS game. And hey, if you're enjoying the video, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Okay, finally, the most brutal tech failure in the history. Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Well, this was the most terrible smartphone failure to date. It was 2016 and Samsung had a very good brand image for their S series phones with innovative designs, and also Note series was very popular among business personnel. Then comes the Galaxy Note 7. This smartphone had a terrible flaw. On 24th August, first report of the Note 7 explosion appeared in news, and then dozens of Note 7 phones exploded. This was a catastrophe for Samsung, and they had to recall around 2.5 million phones after overheating and exploding battery issues, and Samsung stated that the replacement units were safe, and soon enough, same issue arose. On September 8th, US aviation authorities said no Note 7s in the plane. And finally, Samsung stopped the production of Note 7 phones on October 11th, 2016. So what went wrong with Note 7? It was not the software at fault, it was a hardware problem rooted into the engineering of the phone. The batteries inside the Note 7 were too small in one corner, which caused negative electrodes to bend and short-circuit the battery. And there were defective well points left on the batteries that penetrated the protective insulating of the battery. And also, there was no room for error in the battery section because they tried to make it thinner, which led the positive and negative layers to touch. So, as you can see, it was a bad decision on top of a bad decision and on top of another bad decision. Do you know the loss for Samsung from this phone? It cost around $9.5 billion, and I'm just scratching the surface here. They lost their reputation as a tech company, and it was a PR nightmare for Samsung, and not to mention lawsuits filed against the company. So yeah, that was a terrible tech failure which caused a severe dent in company's image. It could possibly have been the fall of Samsung smartphones, but they came up next year with the Samsung Galaxy S8, and thankfully it was a hit and they were back on track. This one is a solid 8 out of 10 failure only because they survived that fiasco, and that phone was such a blast. Other than that, it could have been the 10 out of 10 failure in the list. Alright, these are the most brutal tech failures I found, and if you have any tech failures in mind, drop a comment and we'll include it in the next video. Make sure to like this video for the YouTube algorithm, and if you loved the video, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. See you around.